People might disagree with this, but the Rams lost to the Jets. So you know what? They're on timeout from the top 10. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. Springsteen has awakened Grossi, and today we're going to be breaking down the top 10 power rankings heading into week 16 of the NFL. Our time, my friends, is almost at a close. The light is fading, and soon darkness will sweep the land, for football will be over. But the Packers will win a Super Bowl first. Before we get to that, I want to do a big shout and thank you to some brand new patrons and YouTube members. First, over on the Patreon side of things, we have Cove M. A big shout out and thank you to you. And over for YouTube members, we got Conboy175, GG Game Over, Job Hudson, and Kriltic. A big shout out and thank you to you all. Steelers fans, I would just turn the episode off now because this ain't gonna get pretty. After the first loss, I still kept you at number 2 because I was like, listen, it's a good defense. It's their first loss. No big deal. Then you lost to the Bills. And I'm like, okay, but the Bills are a good team, so you're still hanging around the top 5. And now you've lost to the Joe Burrow-less Cincinnati Bengals. Not good, guys. But there was some shuffling around here in the top 10, and obviously races are getting closer and tighter. And so it's time to break down what I think to be the top 10 teams in the NFL right this second. Starting off with number 10. God, you are so lucky that Urinating Trees Venmo went through. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know a lot of people right off the bat are going to be like, Tom, why are they even at number 10? The Rams could be at number 10, but then we already talked about they lost to the Jets. So, like, come on, guys. They're not going to be on the top 10. But yeah, the Steelers, perfection, literal perfection, have dropped the past 3 games. And they haven't looked good. And the Cincinnati game, oh, that was bad. Real bad. And listen, they're gonna make the playoffs. That's not a question. But oh man, they went from potentially having home field advantage to they're gonna be a wild card team at this point because they play the Browns at the end of the year. And the Browns, well, they're surging. And the Steelers are flushing themselves down the drain. Ben Roethlisberger looked absolutely terrible for the vast majority of that game. I actually checked fantasy in which I started him, and at one point he had -4 points. But yeah, that first half was frackin' ugly. They came back a little bit in the second half, but it wasn't enough to beat the Bengals, guys. It's the Bengals. Like, come on. I know they're a division rival, but come on. It's not good football. And you compare them to a team like the Baltimore Ravens who struggled in the halfway point, and a lot of people were writing them off, and they are surging now. They are getting momentum at the correct time. And if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, yeah, this is going away real quick. And again, obviously, they still have a good defense. The offense needs to pick it the hell up, and they need to really get some momentum heading into the playoffs, because if they keep playing like this, they're looking at a wild card exit at this point. Number 9, staying with the AFC North, you got the Cleveland Browns. 20-6 win over the Giants. Mayfield was efficient, 27 for 32, 297 yards and 2 touchdowns. And of course, Nick Chubb had 50 yards and a touchdown. You know, they're going against Colt McCoy. There's nothing really there. But here's the thing. The Browns have 10 wins, people. That's on 2 hands. When's the last time that happened? And they could actually win their division. What the hell is going on? So kudos to the Cleveland Browns because they've deserved it. They have a power running game. Their defense is looking pretty good. Myles Garrett is having a phenomenal year. And again, the Browns, they can make some waves in the playoffs because if you have a terrible run defense, thank God the Packers are in the NFC, good luck. Number 8, you got the Indianapolis Colts. Had a pretty close game with the Texans, but did enough to close it out. Phillip Rivers was very efficient, 22 for 28 for 228 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor continued to impress, 16 for 83 and a touchdown. Pascal had 5 receptions for over 70 yards and 2 touchdowns. And T.Y. Hilton had over 70 yards again, getting involved. Could T.Y. Hilton finally start making an impact on this team? Because I feel like he's been relatively quiet all year. And while the Colts have been inconsistent this season in that they have really off games, but then they look really, really good, they're a team whose defense can carry them into the playoffs. Depends on what offense shows up. But right now, the Colts are doing enough to get by, and they're still contending for that AFC South. Number 7, another AFC North team. You got the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, they found themselves off this list for a few weeks, but they have found themselves back on it because their offense has awakened, just like Springsteen. And it was another 40-burger that they dropped, this time on the poor Jacksonville Jaguars, who were more than happy to take the L, considering the Jets can't even tank correctly. And so it looks like Trevor Lawrence may just land right into their Duval laps. And while Gardner Minshew still got 2 touchdowns, we need to acknowledge it because we love the stash. Lamar Jackson played another great game, 17 for 22, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, 1 interception, but 1 rushing touchdown as well. And Lamar Jackson is basically reminding people, oh yeah, remember when I was an MVP last year? You remember that good time? Hey, I'm going to start playing like that again. It was just that poop that one time. I had to get it out. Boom. Been playing better ever since. And right now, the Ravens are surging in the correct way. They have all the momentum, and they could be a dangerous team come January. Unless they play the Titans again. Number 6, you got the Tennessee Derrick Henrys. But in actuality, the team could be renamed that because Derrick Henry is a freaking monster. 24 carries, 147 yards, and 1 touchdown. They literally eliminated the Detroit Lions. Did you see that stiff arm? I feel like he made direct eye contact with the entire Packers defense at that point, saying, hey, it's Christmas time. And I'm Christmas future. And while he's not going to get a ton of the publicity because it's all about Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill put together an amazing game. 21 for 27, 273 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Tannehill was lighting it up. They scored 22 points in the 4th quarter. Corey Davis had over 100 yards again and a touchdown. And the defense has been playing better for the Titans. It's not amazing by any stretch, but they can obviously throw it on you. They can run it on you, and Sunday night might hurt. Number 5, they're freaking back. You got the Seattle Seahawks. I was really hoping that Wildflower would pull this one off, but it was Dwayne Haskins who got the start, so we knew from the start But it was Dwayne Haskins who got the start, who also seems to be getting in trouble because he went to a strip club without a mask on. Genius. The Seattle defense gave him fits. Washington only scored 3 points in 3 quarters. Wilson did okay, but it is against a tough defense. Only threw 121 yards, had 1 touchdown and 1 interception, also ran for 52 yards. The Seahawks did clinch a playoff berth, and considering the Rams are currently suffering from the worst loss in the history of ever, you have an NFC West showdown next Sunday between the Rams and the Seahawks, and the winner of that is most likely going to win the division. So the Seahawks right now, they're looking pretty darn good. If they're able to bring their A game against the Rams, they might just be walking home with a divisional title. Number 4, you got the New Orleans Saints. They almost came back. But good God, was that game terrible for 3 quarters. Drew Brees looked horrific. Overthrowing, underthrowing, had 1 amazing throw to Emmanuel Sanders, and then went back to being complete and total garbage. They were strong in the 4th quarter, but against a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, you got to bring your A game for all 4 quarters. Kamara, 11 for 54 on the ground, also had 40 yards through the air and 1 touchdown. Sanders was their leading receiver with 76 yards. Now, Drew Brees is just returning from injury, so he could improve as the weeks go on. But the Saints may have knocked themselves out of the number 1 seed in the NFC. Really broken up about it. In the past 2 weeks, the Saints defense has not looked incredible. They were able to hold Mahomes a little bit at bay, but I think this team definitely can be exploited, and I would not hate it if Drew Brees and company had to come to Lambeau Field. Number 3, speaking of Lambeau Field, you got the Green Bay Packers still holding it down at number 3. A little bit of a closer than anticipated matchup between the Panthers, winning 24-16, but we beat them more than the Chiefs did. Either way, The Packers had another great first half, and it looked like we were sailing off to victory, and then it all came tumbling down, and we didn't do diddly squat and only scored 3 points the rest of the game. However, Rodgers was fantastic. 20 for 29, 143 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 rushing touchdown. Aaron Jones, 20 for 145 yards and 1 touchdown. And the defense played pretty damn well against the Panthers. Held them in tight situation, had an amazing goal line stand, which resulted in a fumble recovery for the Packers. And the defense, again, is clicking a bit. The biggest test is coming this Sunday night against Derrick Henry. If they are able to beat the Tennessee Titans, and of course, if the Rams beat the Seahawks, they clinch the #1 overall seed in the NFC, which means that the road to the Super Bowl runs through Lambeau. And I gotta say, if that happens, I'm real confident in the Packers' chances. Number 2, you got the Buffalo Bills. Oh, man. Let's talk about it. The Broncos aren't a good football team, folks. But neither are the Bengals or the Jets. And yet, teams lost to them. The Bills destroyed the Broncos 48-19. Josh Allen, 28 for 40, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Stephon Diggs, 11 for 147. Hell, even Beasley, 8 for 112. I know people are going to look at this and say it's a bad football team, but you have a lot of good football teams losing to some bad football teams. So at the end of the day, they got the W. They got it convincingly. And honestly, if I was playing the Bills, I'd be afraid right now. So get out your tables, Bills Mafia, because you're looking damn good. And number 1, you still have your reigning, defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Was expecting a little bit of a better game besides a closer game in the fourth quarter, but the Chiefs, they scored in every single quarter in New Orleans, won 32-29. They gave the Saints offense a ton of problems throughout most of the game. Mahomes, 26 for 47, 254 yards, and 3 touchdowns. They also held the Saints off at the end. And the Chiefs have been playing some sneakily good defense as of late. Obviously, all of the attention is going to be on Patrick Mahomes and that offense. But yeah, the Chiefs are still proving day in and day out they are still the best team in the NFL. They definitely have some competition in the AFC who could potentially give them problems. I imagine the Bills are one of those teams. But as we've said since the beginning of the year, if there is a team that could repeat, it's probably the Chiefs. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think like teams like the Buccaneers or the Cardinals or even the Rams should be on this list? Or maybe the Steelers should be off. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack, go.